Hey gang, I got an offer for you today from LinkedIn. As business-to-business marketers, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. On LinkedIn, you have direct access to build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior level executives. 10 million are C-level executives. You will also be able to drive results with targeting and measuring with their tools built specifically for B2B. And best of all, they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads also rank number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of the Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit. It's a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. It's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's about the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs and how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. Today is a special episode. We have Guy Kawasaki of Apple fame, of Guy Kawasaki fame, of all his 15 books, of Canva fame, of Mercedes-Benz fame, of fame in general. So, hey, Guy, how's it going?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad. Also, I almost forgot to mention the remarkable podcast fame. If you don't listen to his podcast, you need to. It is fantastic.
Thank
And
you.
his latest one, which came out, did it come out today? It came out today.
Yes, every
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Why?
Today I released Gary Vaynerchuk.
Gary Vaynerchuk. Yeah, who's a great guy. I've actually met Gary once before at a conference. He seems, when you listen to his all high energy and you feel like, oh, he's not a regular guy. He's Gary Vaynerchuk. But he's just a regular guy. He's very friendly and outgoing. So
Bottom line is everybody's a regular guy.
exactly. So Guy, you're originally from Hawaii,
Yes.
and I recently read your book, Wise Guy, your autobiography.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a little background on you. So, and you're a prolific writer. So how did you get started? Like, I know the answer because I listened to the book, but for those who haven't read your Wise Guy book, how did you get started in everything, literally, just being Guy?
Well,
How
I
did that first
started
start?
as a sperm and an egg.
Oh, there you go. We don't
I'm
go
from
that far back, but
yeah. I am from Honolulu, Hawaii. I grew up in a lower middle class part of Hawaii. I was in the public school system, and luckily a teacher convinced my parents to put me in the private school college prep system. That led, and I don't know why I applied, but somehow I applied to Stanford and I got in,
Wow.
miracle upon miracle. And at Stanford, I met someone named Mike Boych, who eventually became Apple's first software evangelist, and he hired me as the second software
Wow.
evangelist. So my path, at least up to that point, was really predicated upon nepotism. After the Macintosh division, I started some software companies. I returned to Apple, left again to start more companies. And fast forward, I'm now the chief evangelist of Canva, which is an online graphics design service. Yep. I'm the host of the Remarkable People podcast.
That is fantastic. And you're also, I know this is one of the greatest entrepreneurial journeys. You're also a father.
Yeah, a father of 4.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm a father of 1, and I'm like, that's enough.
It doesn't get interesting till the kids outnumber the adults. Trust me.
Well, this kid outnumbers us with his sheer enthusiasm. We'll put it that way. He outnumbers us with energy. So you've done in-house, you've done entrepreneurship. What is the best thing about being an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur? Like, what's the best thing about doing your own thing?
Well, the best thing about doing your own thing is that, in a sense, you don't have to check with the man to do anything. the downside of that is there's no the man to blame. So,
That's true. Yeah.
it's all good or all bad, but it's all you. And that's not quite true because an entrepreneur is only good as his or her employees and co-founders, et cetera, et cetera. Well, investors too. But, pretty much if you're working for Apple and you're one of 100,000 employees, uh, the good news is you're very secure. The bad news is, what can one person do in a 100,000 person organization that's going to really, quote unquote, dent the company as opposed to dent the universe?
Hmm. So what about the scariest thing about being an entrepreneur? Because you've done this quite a few times.
Well, the scariest thing about an entrepreneur is, well, the obvious one is running out of money.
So,
Everybody
yeah.
expects that as an answer, yes. I would say even more scary than that is when you first ship your product because you truly don't know what's going to happen. And all your friends who are beta testers who are too polite to tell you that it sucks, all that level of bullshit goes away. And now you're in the cold, cruel world where they're not your friends and relatives, and they're going to tell you your product sucks, your book sucks, your podcast sucks, whatever you
Mhm.
do sucks. And that is truly, I think, more scary than running out of money.
We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
Hey there, it's Jason Falls. If your company or maybe one of your clients sells to marketers, you look for advertising channels that guarantee business marketers are paying attention, right? Let me introduce you to the Marketing Podcast Network. You're listening to it right now. It's a network of podcasts all about marketing. So 100% of MPN's audience are marketers. Reach them by advertising on the Marketing Podcast Network. Learn more and find our media kit at marketingpodcasts.net.
Yeah, I guess the reality, I mean, that's a great answer to that because a lot of people are like, it's done known. And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I expected that answer. So here's something that I like this is a little curveball I like to throw people. What is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
You mean physically
No, anything in general.
or mentally?
It can be both.
I would say grit, pure
I can believe
grit.
it.
You just have to be willing to, well, as Mark Manson, someone I interviewed for my podcast, told me that, you've truly found what you want to do when it involves a shit sandwich that you love to
Mm,
eat. So
that's
podcasting
true.
for me involves several shit sandwiches, but I love those shit sandwiches.
Hmm.
If you're a great programmer, programming requires debugging.
Oh my
So
God.
if you love to debug, you're probably a great programmer. If you don't love to debug, you're probably not. That's a shit
That's
sandwich.
pretty kind of matter of fact. Yeah, absolutely. And so, in addition to that, you love surfing and hockey. I mean, amongst other things, but
Well, I gave up hockey for surfing. I took up hockey when I was
oh, right, you gave up
46.
hockey?
Yeah, I gave up hockey because I have to say, I was playing hockey 2, 3, 4 times a week, and I loved hockey.
Hmm.
And then I discovered surfing, and oh my God, surfing is better than hockey.
Wow.
People from Minnesota cannot relate to that, but I'm telling you, surfing is better than hockey. It is a more difficult sport than hockey.
Oh, I'm sure. Because I mean, you have the unknown of the waves,
Well,
and you have to have good balance or decent balance, all that
well,
stuff.
you need
And
decent balance to skate too, but
that's true. Yeah.
it's hard to compare. One is a team sport, one is purely individual.
Hmm.
So that's a difference. But there. Of course, if you score a goal or something, that's pretty exhilarating. But I mean, in a session, you can catch 20 waves. You have 20 to 30-second moments of exhilaration. Let's take an example. That might mean you have like 400 or 500 seconds of exhilaration in 2 hours. And
A
there's no
big
hockey
burst.
game
Yeah.
in the world where you're gonna have 400 to 500 seconds of exhilaration in a 3-period game. There's no way.
Yeah, and there's also in hockey, there's a lot of like just skating around, just getting in the position to get the puck and all that stuff. So yeah,
Well, but don't get me wrong. In surfing, a lot of it is sitting around or
that's true.
paddling. 95% of the time you're paddling. You're not surfing.
You're getting your exercise either way. So guys, for the young entrepreneurs out there
Yep.
who are just starting out
Yep.
and they're like, I don't want to work for the man, or I want to try not to work for the man. or I need to get some experience. Like in my case, I had to get some experience to potentially work for the man, which I never ended up doing.
Yeah.
And what is the best advice you can give a young entrepreneur who has an idea and just wants to go with that?
Okay. So first of all, the motivation of not wanting to work for the man is not the optimal motivation.
Okay.
Okay. Because it's not, that's a negative motivation. That's, I don't want to do something, so I'm going to go find something else. Right. So that's pushing you away from the negative. What you want is something that attracts you to the positive, which is a very different attitude. And so I think that, a lot of people will say that the ideal motivation for an entrepreneur is wanting to change the world, denting the universe, electric cars, personal computers, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. I don't know about Bill Gates. Windows didn't exactly change the world for the better anyway. So now, but
Biased much?
I would say that even that is more fictional than real. I
Yeah.
think that the genesis of great tech companies is the desire to make something that you yourself want to use. Two guys in a garage, two gals in a garage, a guy and a gal in a garage. They want a personal computer. They want a search engine. They want a social media website. They want something like that. I think that's what drives it. So you two guys in a garage build a computer, and guess what? More than those two people like it. That's Apple.
Yeah.
That's Apple. And I think that's ideally how it should be.
That is a great answer. And I do agree with you that, not working for the man is not the right way, because ultimately sometimes people go work for the quote unquote man and then they go do the entrepreneurship afterwards. They get some ideas and they use that as a building block and they learn from, guess what?
Yes.
The man.
Yeah.
I'm sure you learned a lot from Steve Jobs.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, you can also learn a lot from the negative man.
That's true too.
That's
Yeah.
okay too.
Absolutely. So what was it like, going from Apple, where you're an entrepreneur, you're telling the good word of Apple, to doing your first, that was your first CEO gig afterwards, right? Because you did diamond stuff beforehand.
I did jewelry, then I
Yeah.
went to Apple, and then I left to start a software company. And I came back to Apple, then I left to start a venture capital firm.
You've done a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm old.
You're not that old. 60s is the new 40s.
Yeah. From your mouth to God's ears. Yeah.
So where can people find you if they want to reach out, and they want they can they can search for Remarkable People podcast and listen to that. That's fantastic.
Well, I mean, honestly, if they want to see my absolute best work, my absolute best work is my podcast. I really feel
fantastic.
like my whole career has prepared me for that podcast, in the sense of knowing what to ask, knowing how to get straight to the point, and also being visible enough as opposed to personally known, such that people such as Jane Goodall or Neil deGrasse Tyson or Margaret Atwood or Christy Yamaguchi. I mean, this is the level of kind of people I have on my podcast. And it's not because I'm BFFs with all of those people. It's because many of them were Macintosh users and heard of me or something like that. So they knew of me. They didn't know me, which is a big difference.
Oh, that's so true.
Well, can I just supplement the answer to the advice to the entrepreneur?
Yeah.
So, more advice for the entrepreneur. First of all, understand that the purpose of a company is to create customers. It's not to raise money. It's not to get away from the man. It's not to create jobs. This is why politicians fundamentally do not understand entrepreneurship. This is why, when you read that Devin Nunes has left Congress to run a social media site, you should be rolling on the floor, freaking doing backflips, like practically nauseous with laughter. Okay. And so, whenever you hear this about, well, entrepreneurs want to create jobs, I mean, let me just repeat that to you the way most investors hear it, which is, so you're telling me that you want to create as much overhead as possible. That's your mission. I want you to create a company as cheaply, inexpensively, efficiently, without overhead as possible. So we are at odds here. You want to create a lot of jobs. I want to create a lot of revenue and profit. The two are not the same. Now,
Yes.
if you create a humongously successful company and you're selling millions and millions of anything, you will create jobs. But the
Yes.
point is not to create jobs. The point is to create millions of sales. And guess what? To fulfill that, you have to have millions of jobs. So remember, the purpose is to create a customer. And the second piece of advice I would give entrepreneurs is focus on finishing the prototype. That's all that really matters. Everything else is bullshit, because once you finish the prototype, then you're in the market. And a truism that is absolutely a truism, which is sales fixes everything. So everything else can go wrong. Sales fixes everything. So that's what you need to focus on.
I think that's a great place to end. So, Guy, what social media platform are you the most active on?
I am most active on LinkedIn by far.
By far, okay.
Yep.
So everyone can go find you on LinkedIn as, guess what? Guy
Just
Kawasaki.
Guy Kawasaki. I'm Guy Kawasaki everywhere except Facebook, where, get ready for this, my name is just Guy.
You got Guy. Oh, that's awesome.
I have
No,
a
that
three-letter
is
name
awesome.
at Facebook. Yep.
Well, Guy, this has been fantastic. I know you're a very
Alrighty.
busy guy, and I think the
Thank you,
weather is
Seth.
good for surfing out there.
Okay. Take care. Thank you
Be
very
well,
much for having me.
and thank
All
you
the
for
best.
being on.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode. That was a great show. Hey, if you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please give us a review on the podcast directory of your choice. We're on all of them. And these reviews really help others find the show. Also, if you're getting value from the show and want to buy me a coffee, go to the show notes and click on the link to help me stay awake while I bring you more great episodes to your ears. That's in the show notes, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care, guys.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Tanya Daka hosts a great podcast called The Copy Arena. Tanya, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
What they're going to get is down-to-earth copy advice that helps them get their readers to open and take action.
Amazing. Where can people subscribe?
They can subscribe at tanyadaka.com and anywhere you find your favorite podcasts.
Or on marketingpodcasts.net.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.